Yo, 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 what's good? What's poppin'? What's happening? You are now watching Juke Boys Sports Show. I'm your host, King Ralph, here with the homie and my co-host, the homie Kyle. What's poppin', bro?
What's good? What's good? I'm glad to be back. Man, I felt the March Madness this tournament, even though I will have to say that the game was kind of underwhelming, people, but the
Yeah.
championship game, but the women's championship game was amazing, and we have a
Hey,
lot to talk about.
hey, shout out
In
to
this,
the women because they held it
yeah,
down.
10 million viewers, Ralph.
Hey,
10. That's as many championships as the great Phil Jackson won. But anyway, let's
and
move.
it's and like Joy Taylor said on
Yeah, yeah.
yesterday's episode of Speak,
Speak for
we
yourself.
no longer can hear the men, nobody watches it and nobody cares.
Hmm.
Because they was watching and they definitely cared.
Right. They had something to say.
Exactly. All that. So we got some quick hitters, man. Before we get it jumping though, send a shout out to the sponsor. We ain't been there in a minute, but if you want to do any photo shoots, podcasts like what you're watching, music videos, call the number on the bottom of the screen, 707 Fit Boxer. And then, like I said, quick hitters, man. We got first up, Coach Monkey, one of her former players, Brittany Griner
Hmm.
at Baylor, went through the public issue with as far as we getting her back from Russia when she was in the Russian jail. But Moki never came out with extreme support like the other players, her former teammates, just people that's in the league, her colleagues and whatnot. They asked her about it. She was still brash about, and you will not hear my support. But she
Yep.
has came out and said, "Thank God, I did say prayers for her, and I'm happy that she's home." But she was not going to be out there in the forefront as far as trying to get her home. Is this a big
Yeah.
issue?
I believe it's an issue in terms of uh their relationship. I guess you want to say their interpersonal relationship. I'm not gonna go down the line and read every single quote that Moki has because I know this is a quick topic. So what I'll just say is this: I'm actually looking over some of the quotes that she says, but I believe it's an issue for this reason, Ralph and everyone, that it seems like Brittany Griner and Kim Mulkey they had a working relationship. However, Brittany Griner had some. It seems like Mulkey had some undertones of having some issues of who Brittany Griner was in terms of a person, um, um, gender politic wise, being a black female lesbian in America. And Brittany Griner has stated this to Kate Fagan, reporter back in 2013. I was looking at some of the quotes in terms of, hey, I want you to do this, or I won't, I won't speak on this, and blah 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 blah. Oh, hey, cover up your tattoos, do all this other kind of stuff. And so, like, it seems like Brittany Griner gave Kate Fagan a couple different quotes, and it seems like based off of what Kim Mulkey has said that she's not going to openly say, "Hey, I'm not in favor of. Hey, this is how things work." But also, you got to think about the school that Baylor is, and it seemed like Griner was kind of a poster child of potentially, hey, maybe turning people away from the university. So we don't want you to do this or look like this and blah, blah, blah. And also, Mulkey has some very strong political views too, as well. And she's not exactly in favor of some of the political stuff and people in office. But we're not going to get into that for the sake of the show. But so I would say to answer that question, I do believe in terms of their personal relationship, now that I've done some research into it, right? I see why there might have been some potential static or stuff like that. But you guys would kind of have to do your own research into it. But it seems like this has been kind of a back and forth thing. Do I believe that she is um, happy that she's home? Yes, 100%. But I think that's as far as the extent that she's really going to go
Right.
into this topic.
And I
That's my
agree,
opinion.
man. I could definitely see where you're coming from. I'm not gonna go too
Mhm.
far into it, but I'm not surprised to a certain degree, knowing where she's from, her background. Just listen to her talk. The only
Yeah.
thing that's surprising is knowing
Yeah.
her history. And
Mhm.
when it comes to being around certain minority groups in the sport that she's in, and those minority groups representing a large part of that sport, that's the part that is surprising to me.
Right.
I did the hand gesture. We got Angel and LSU Lady Tigers. Shout out to them. I talked about them and how my affinity and love for that school and those people in Baton Rouge. But Angel, brash, outgoing, uh, unapolog- unapologetically black, and herself all season, has said narratives is not. She doesn't fit the narrative. Caitlin Clark a couple games ago did the whole "you can't see me," but she did it real quick and got out the
Yeah.
way. But Angel was pointing at fingers. Joe Burrow had the John Cena "you can't see me" while making eye contact.
Right.
Is she being unfairly criticized, or is this why we want to watch this game? Why this game has so much viewership?
All right, I'll answer both questions. One, she is being unfairly criticized. Shout out to you. Shout out to everyone else out there that kind of taking a stand on this issue. Shout out to Ashley Nicole Moss on I Am Athlete and them over there, and everyone else, Joy Taylor, all that. I think that she's being unfairly criticized because the other people outside, they made it about race in terms of their reaction to it. You know what I'm saying? So like, it really wasn't a race issue initially until we had Keith Olbermann call her an effing idiot. You're calling a teenager, a college kid, an effing idiot. And
Yeah,
so for me, Ralph, it's like, what prompted or what elicited that form of vulgar response, that vulgar emotion? Why are you so pent up over it? You
right,
know what I'm saying? And so
right,
that's when you hit me up, and I was like, yeah, now it has to be a race issue because you just made it. We weren't really
right,
trying to make it into nothing. We don't just go out and say, oh, this is race, all that kind of stuff. But it's like, all right, you feel some type of way. You know what I'm saying? You have all these black athletes, and you hear what Angel Reese had said about she's been dealing with this since high school.
right.
And you can look at the clips and how she reacts during games. That's her mentality, Ralph. That's B more. That's her
Yeah,
mentality. We like that.
right.
So I do believe that she's being unfairly criticized because we're not speaking about the fact that she has 34 double doubles, the most in a single season. We're not
I think
speaking
she had
about
one game where she didn't have a double double
exactly.
all
So
season.
exactly. And I won't go down all that other stuff, but I wish we could have a show where we just talk about the accomplishments of Caitlin Clark, talk about the
Right.
accomplishments of Angel Reese, right? So she's being unfairly criticized. And then to answer your second question, yeah, that's why we love the sport. I like competitive. I like trash talk. That's all I got. I like trash talk, so it's cool.
I think the outside of the controversy, I think what Angel brings to the game is what we
Mhm.
need.
Thank
And
you.
while also we get someone like a Caitlin Clark, who
Mhm.
I was telling my brother, I kind of compared it to like Steph. When you look at the way that the WNBA game is played,
Yeah.
there is nobody like a Caitlin Clark.
Mhm.
It's a very fundamental play, big to outside. I think that we do have some really good guard play with the Sue Birds, the Maya Moores, Simone Augustus's, Cynthia Cooper's,
Yeah.
even Cheryl Swoops. Like I didn't know that Cheryl Swoops hooped like that in college. When they was talking about she put up 177 points, but I think they only played like four or five games
Right.
back then because it
Mhm.
was only like 48 teams was in the tournament and not 64 or 65. So
Yeah.
I think that the way that the game is played, we're gonna get to a certain point where you're gonna see women come into college and into the league, and they're gonna be that Caitlin Clark type that can get you 40 points, 12 assists, 8 rebounds, lead a team without the crazy athleticism, but the ability to shoot just from anywhere, and it's like the ability to get the shot off in any way. So I think that it's a great segue into the next topic, but I think this is exactly what we need. And
That's
like I
real.
said, segue into the next topic.
Hmm.
And I'm gonna lead this one because I think this one is interesting because when we talk about college basketball, we immediately start thinking about people from the NBA game,
Yeah.
or even WNBA to a certain degree. But
Mhm.
when we start talking about specific college, you got to take that out because there's players that were great in college that just weren't the NBA player that they could have been. We got the Johnny Flynn's of the world. Uh,
Where is he at? Man.
the Kemba Walker. He was a nice NBA player, but the
Mhm.
player he was in college, completely different. The great Pearl Washington was another one.
Facts.
Patrick Ewing. People have said, I think even someone came out and said recently, if Patrick Ewing was played for the Knicks the way that Patrick Ewing played with the Bulldogs, it would be a whole them Georgia Hoyas. It would be a whole
Yeah.
nother. It'd be a whole nother. We would be thinking about Patrick Ewing in a whole nother light. Then
Yeah.
when you go and you think about Pete Maravich, Pistol Pete.
Rest in peace.
The numbers he was putting up in college and what he was
Yeah.
able to do, I think
Facts.
that Caitlin Clark is the closest that we can say to that at
Mhm.
that level, because we had someone that just recently came close to it, but he was playing for a D2 school. And
Mm.
so to look at the talent that she's playing against, the level of difficulty, while also seeing what she's doing, this is like Kim Mulkey said when she shook her hand, you are a generational talent.
Yeah, that's real.
And so to me, I think there's an argument to be had. I do think that she has one more year, so we do got to see what she does within that year. I think that that team could go back, and we could see a Paige Buechler versus a Caitlin Clark. That would be the next step for college basketball, women's college basketball, especially going into both of them would be draft eligible
Okay.
at that
So
point.
it's funny that you mentioned Paige Buechers because and this is no shade, right? Because I'm a huge fan. I caught her during her junior year of high school, and my homegirl CB put me on to her. I was like, "Why did you tell me about her?" He's like, "Kai." She's like, "Yeah, I was trying to like, yeah." But with I say no shade because what I'm about to say is this: Caitlin took her shine. Caitlin took her shine because Paige Buecher was pretty much next up, but then she got hurt.
Right,
She literally got hurt, and she's not in the same. With all due respect, and I mean this, like when you listen to the athletes who actually are in the WNBA, like they'll tell you that Paige isn't on Caitlin's level, and that's crazy considering the fact that Paige is actually like where she's at. So it's
right,
like, yo, so that they're not saying that she's not talented. It's like Caitlin's that good. I'm like, yo,
right,
and we
right.
see it. I was like, man. So she actually took her shine. But I think you're right, Ralph. But I look at it more as a Magic and Bird situation because I
Yeah,
think what we're gonna do, schedule makers, they want to see that Iowa and LSU matchup. We want to see a rematch.
we want
If
to
you
see
get
that.
if you get 10 million viewers, that's the most they've ever had. People want to see another national title championship thing go back and forth. A lot of people want Kalen to win, whatever.
Right,
Hey, but they want to see that magic bird thing because look at the WNBA, right? The WNBA, this is the first year that we're going to have two super teams. So now the
right,
super teams are in the WNBA. If we could somehow get that type of rivalry, Ralph, into the WNBA, that would be amazing. But with the NIL deals and players making more money in college, I understand why. Hey, if I'm a woman in college basketball, I'm staying in college anyway. So, that being said, is she the GOAT? I don't believe she's the GOAT because I always translate GOAT to winning. I understand things a team sport, and you have to win, you have to deliver. But I do believe that she is one of the greatest. And another player that we didn't mention, which I'll end on this, is Lou Alcindor, aka Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. So I was like, hey, we kind of had to mention him. And then I think his freshman year or something like that. Or,
yeah.
yeah, you feel me? So I was like, I see Kareem staring at me in the background in the shadows, like, yo, Kai, don't do it. Don't say Caitlin. I was like, all right, Kareem. But yeah, she's in that pantheon. You know what I'm saying? I want to see if she can get back. But yeah, she led her team. She was an offensive fire power like we've never seen. She was an engine to lead her team. So yeah, she's up there.
All right, all right. And like, yeah, man, it makes me think about like when we think about winning. I think that sometimes when we talk about winning, it gets a little bit too. We focus on it too much because at some point, is people's greatness
Yeah.
is like there's like the LeBrons of the world. Like I think that one of the
Mhm.
things, although we bring up him, Michael Jordan went 6-0.
All right.
When you go and you look at LeBron versus the Warriors, and you look at what LeBron was able to do, the numbers he was putting up was astronomically crazy.
Yeah.
But did he win? No. So it's like,
No.
does that take away? Does he was he not great
He was great.
in those moments? So like, we look at Pete Maravich. Pete Maravich didn't win in
Right.
college. So like, but to me, prior to seeing Caitlin, I don't think that there was a way that you could say that he wasn't the best college player.
Yeah, Kaylin's the best college player in women's basketball right now,
Exactly.
currently.
And so it's
Yeah.
like, because even if you go back and you think about the players that won the most and the people that get those accolades,
Yeah.
look at the team that they were on. Maya Moore, look at that team that she was on.
Right.
Diana Taurasi, look at the team that she was on. So it's like Candace Parker, look at the team that she was on. So we have all these people that, and I think we're going to be a little bit too long on this, but
Okay.
I think that I think too often we start to think about when we think about the greatness, we think of winning, and I don't think that that's 100% fair.
It's not
Next up,
100%. Yeah.
before we wrap this one up, because we're probably going to have to cut one short. What are your chances that UConn 0 to 100 of UConn winning a back-to-back title?
You want my honest opinion? Oh, obviously, I'm always honest. I'm not gonna lie on the show, but I'm gonna give him a 10% chance. The reason why I say 10% chance is because I saw FAU do something that no one thought was going to even be possible. No one gave FAU a chance. I didn't. No one really cared about FAU until the
Right.
tournament, and even during
Right.
the tournament, some people still didn't care about FAU. That's amazing. A Conference USA team goes 35-0. They get all the way to the Final Four. Everyone knocks off what Texas got knocked off, Alabama
Yep.
got knocked off, Houston got
Yep.
knocked off. So for the sake of this topic, man, I really believe I give them like a 10% chance, if that, because I just think that this was the one year we had so much parity. I understand that players are coming back and all that kind of stuff, but I mean, it's not the first team that we saw elite talent, NBA talent at that. You have
Right.
at least two players, like you mentioned, come back. So I think once you're in the tournament, that round of 64, Ralph, anyone
Anything can
can
happen.
get it. That's all. So
Yeah.
that's me. I'm just giving him a 10% because it's the easy way out. It's the cop out answer.
I need to see who comes back.
Yeah.
I think that if they can get Hawkins to come back, then
Mm-hmm.
you're looking at a 40% chance.
40, man. All right.
And so
You bolder
next
than me.
next up, we got the top defensive tackles while also talking about linemen. We are transitioning into the offensive side of the ball, like what I did there, talking about our last defensive spot and our first offensive spot, transitioning from one side of the football to the next through the offensive and defensive line. But first up at 5, and
We going defense or offense?
I'm gonna start with defense.
Okay. Okay.
So I am going to go with who I got where my positions at. And then at the end, just to let you all know, there is going to be a segment, or we are going to put out a show where we talk about all of our positions that we have talked about. I'm going to put them into one show before the draft is released. But first up, you know me, I like to go started from the bottom, go
Bottom
to
now
the
we need it.
top. And this one was a little hard for me, man, because
Okay.
I think I have a tier. I think
Mm-hmm.
there's certain tiers, and I think my 6 through 4 is all one tier, so it's kind of hard to see what spot I'm gonna put them in. But
Mm.
for the sake, I thought this was interesting. Byron Young, the defensive tackle, not the
Mm-hmm.
edge rusher,
Okay.
because there is a Byron Young that played. I believe the Byron Young I'm talking about, the D tackle, played at Bama. I think the other one played at Tennessee,
Right.
and
Right.
is an outside edge rusher. They both were on the senior team on the same team.
Mm.
But Byron Young, I got him at a second, third round grade, 6'3", 290, a little bit smaller in the caboose. But I
Mm-hmm.
think he's more of your 4-3 D tackle. But he's
Mm.
versatile. He can play edge rusher. He could come out on rush the passer out on the edge while also being inside. He had a 75 uh, playoff football focus, PFF, defensive grade.
Yeah.
As a run defender, had 4 sacks, 24 defensive stops. And he's right. The thing about us I like about him is that he is versatile in the sense where he has a decent pass rush grade while also having a decent run stop grade. And he's right about 74, 75 on both sides according to playoff football focus. And that's
Mm-hmm.
the thing I like about him, where most of the other people that you're going to put in, like I was going to put Keanu Benton from Wisconsin, big behemoth of a man. Um, but I got
Yeah.
him as a third round grade because he is really good when it comes to run stopping, but his pass, the getting after the quarterback thing is just not his strong suit. So I'm gonna go Byron Young over him at the 5 spot, and at the 4 spot, I got Siaki Ika coming out of Baylor, another second or third round grade. But the issue with him is he's huge, 6'4", 335. But the
Mm.
problem with him is that I don't know what it is, but when it comes to stopping the run, as big as he is, he is a pass rushing
Guy.
like nose tackle. He's
Yeah, yeah.
phenomenal. He's a 6'4", 335 finesse guy, which makes no
Mm.
sense. So as long as you're okay with him, like I thought about it in the sense of like when it comes to pass rushing, I
Mhm.
think like a team like us where you have Chandler on one side, Max on the other, putting him in the middle and going after the quarterback, I think that that's one of those things that would help our back end. So it depends on the situation in which you put him in, but I think that he fits the pass rushing mode. But if you need an all around guy, I think he could work his way into that because the potential is through the roof. Like I said, his size, he's very mobile, great at the pass rush, but you can somehow find out what's stopping him from getting after uh, when it's a run play and
Yeah.
getting after it. That's the part for me that puts him at the grade that I have him at. So I got
Okay.
Byron Young at 5
Mhm.
and Siaki Ika at 4.
Okay. And so for me, I'm gonna start with Jervon. I think I'm pronouncing his name right, Jervon or Gervon. I'm gonna say Jervon Dexter. Out of Florida. He's somebody, Ralph, who has high upside, but and he's a good athlete. I believe he was a 5-star recruit as well. When once you start getting to the top 5, you have 5-star recruits, et cetera, et cetera. However, he's someone who people are kind of really waiting for him to really put everything like together to be consistent with what he can do and has the tools. So with those types of players, just like when I look at a guy like an Owe, even though he was on the edge, right, at Penn State, and everyone looked at his measurables and all that kind of stuff, his speed, he wound up landing in the right spot in Baltimore, and he's on the defensive end. Unfortunately, he regressed this past season. But with Javon Dexter, if he goes to the right spot, I can see him doing some things. You mentioned like the former athletes we have in this draft. He's 6'6", 310 pounds. I have on my notes I put down that he has elite size and strength. He can play anywhere across the line, so he's very versatile. He just needs to improve like his reaction time. If you look at him on film, that's something that he needs to work on. But he's really disruptive on getting pressure upside in the middle, and he has a really good first step off the line. And then number 4 for me, I have a guy by the name of Keanu Benton out of Wisconsin, not Keanu Reeves, everyone. Which he's cool because The Matrix is a dope movie, but he's 6'4", 315 pounds, so he's not as tall, but he still has that size. He's an elite run stopper, sheds off blocks extremely well. So here's the thing with Keanu Benton, right? He's someone who's been rising up in the draft ranks based off of his combine time. What he's been doing has been amazing. His combine drill, excuse me. Um, I actually have his rankings. He was second in 3-cone drill, right? Fifth in bench press, and he was top 5 in the shuttle, the broad jump, and vertical rank, all top 5. Like that's crazy, right?
Yeah.
So he's like, yeah, yeah, that's crazy. Like he was like that. He has great bursts off the line of scrimmage, elite strength and power. He needs to continue developing his footwork, but he has big time upside. I actually think he probably has some of the most upside out of the guys in this draft. So it's going to be very interesting to see where he goes. And then I said that he has a really good handwork.
Yeah.
He's really good with his hands, so that allows him over time to be able to like shed blocks real quickly. So Keanu Benson, guys, out of Wisconsin. I believe that's a Big Ten school, if I'm mistaken.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's someone that you should look out for.
And
So
and that's who I
yeah.
had at 6. He's
Okay,
young.
okay.
He's young. He started 32 games, but he's only 21 years old.
Right. He has
So
that potential to grow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
next up, I got Brian Brisset,
Ooh. Breesy.
6'5", 300 pounds. I got him as a second round grade, but there are some things that why I see why you could have him. Some people have him first round.
Hmm.
I've seen him as low as third round. I got him at about second round, but he's extremely mobile. I think he might be better suited out on the edge.
Okay.
Not necessarily an edge where instead of like a nose tackle, I would put him at that right end or left end spot in a 3-4, or even put him in a 4-3 defensive tackle spot because he just doesn't have that. Like, it's his size and mobility. You would think you would want him to dominate, but I've seen him get mauled against Darnell Wright, the
Mhm.
Osiris Torrance. And so I think that when we start to have those conversations of he dominated lesser talent, but when he played against people that are going to be in the NFL, he just didn't wow me. Now
Right, right.
I'll give him a little bit after doing some research. In September, his younger sister passed away from cancer,
Mm.
and then he just was never the same player after that. So when we start to talk about, we always talk about mental health, and sometimes things are bigger than the game. You start to see where you can at least understand where the lack of production comes from. But there were some things prior to that, even last year, that where you can see like, all right, like I'm expecting you to jump off the board with you being a 5-star number one overall prospect coming out of high school, but you just haven't shown me that. But I
Yeah.
see the upside at certain moments. And so at 2, we talked about him in our mock draft.
Mhm.
Elijah Cansey.
Mm.
6, he's in that Aaron Donald build coming out of Pitt. I got him as a first round, second round grade. The tape shows you he's right behind Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter is just Jalen Carter. We all know that. But right underneath that, good hands, pass rushing, uh, phenomenal in pass rushing. And he wins pass rushing. His win pass rush rate is 23%. He had
Man.
30 hurries on the quarterback. Good, active, strong hands, and wins with a phenomenal bull rush at being so little.
Mhm.
But the one thing about it, like I mentioned, is he is a smaller guy at 6 foot 280,
Mm.
and so I'm curious to see what happens with him. But I think that we already have the Grady Jarrett's, the Sheldon Rankings, and then Aaron Donald coming from the same school. There's instances that you can go straight to and say, hey, the smaller D tackle can win, but we'll
Right,
see
right.
going forward. And then next up, go crazy, bro.
Okay, so for number 3 for me, I had Brian Breesy out of Clemson, as you mentioned, 6'5". I put him at 305 pounds. What I like about him, he has elite physical presence and explosiveness. I said he has consistently holds up against double teams in the run game, which is huge because people offensive linemen want to plug that hole, right? And then it's strong at the point of attack as well in the run game. I believe he actually didn't he have an ACL injury though as well. I think in one of these
Yeah,
seasons. Okay, yeah. So that's also I believe
in 2021.
concerns exactly in 2021. Thank you. So durability concern based off of that, I would say, and then obviously he had to deal with some real life stuff, right? So and we all go through things. We've all lost people as well, and we respect and give people that time. So I think that maybe if for those his pretty much like headspace, different things. Like things happen, right? So if I was gonna move him down, it would be mainly due to like some of the injury concerns and also consistency. Other than that, I think that when he's at his best, though, I believe that he can operate in that top 3. And then number 2, Kalijah Cansey. What you mentioned, I just said that he thrives at getting interior pressure up the middle on the quarterback. He has a plethora of different pass rush moves. And I like his motor. We like guys that play with high motor because that's something, Ralph, that doesn't show up in a stat sheet.
You can't
So I
teach
have
it.
Kalijah Cansey at 2. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, that's something that you can't teach. And
Yeah.
the one
And we
knack,
both have Jalen, right?
yeah, the one knack for our
Mhm.
number one prospect is his motor.
Yep.
Um,
There you go. Absolutely.
he
Great
had
segue.
he has all the natural ability, the ability to
Yeah.
stop the run,
Mhm.
really the ability to get after the passer. We've seen him stand up and rush the edge. We've seen him come up the middle. Great hands, extension, bull rush, um, the club and swipe, swim move, crazy. It's just his what happened at pro day, him coming in out of shape,
Mm.
winded after 2 or 3 drills. Those are the things that have concern. But he has all the natural ability as that you can ask for in a top 5 pick. Switching over to the offensive line, I got my man's Steve Avila is the first one I'm going to mention. A
Avila.
guard coming out of TCU. I got him as a second round grade. I think that the small hands
Mm-hmm.
is one of those things that can once he gets a hold of you,
Mm-hmm.
he's not as dominant once he gets a hold of you. Where some of the other guys that I'm going to mention, once they get a hold of you, it's a wrap. You either going backwards or you're not going nowhere. And so I think that he
Yeah.
takes bad ankles as well, which is one of the reasons why I got. But there's some of the things that they're fixable, which is why it's not like he's completely trash. It's just when we start to see certain things that's negative, these are the
Right.
reasons why these people are going in the second and third round, not the first. So heavy feet and pass protection, takes bad angles
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to blocking and run blocking, but he is an impressive anchor. He can play inside at guard. He can play center, left guard, right guard, and he's got good size. He's relatively young at 23. Next
Mm-hmm.
up, I got Osiris Torrance, first round talent. I got him, although I got him at 4. I am gonna say that only reason I got him at 4 is just because of the other guys that are above him. I think that he's a phenomenal inside versatile, good balance, moves people out the way. Didn't give up any sacks or penalties this year. But like I said, and the same thing with the last person, heavy feet, and he just doesn't have like that dog in him, like that
Mm.
nastiness that when he makes impact, you can hear that loud pancake smack.
Yeah.
So at 5, I got Steve Avila. At 4, I got Osiris Torrance.
Okay. I like that. At 5, we're going down south. I went to Tennessee, Darnell Wright, 6'5". I said 330 pounds. Player comparison, Roger Saffold. His strengths, I would say that he has great hand technique, huge anchor, and you just talked about having that nasty. Well, this dude has that nasty and that mean demeanor. And he has experience on both the left side, just like algebra. Whatever you do on the left side, you gotta be able to do on the right side, right? In the right, in the right side, you know. That's how I got through them algebra classes, man. You know what I'm saying? So he has experience on both sides, and and the reason why Ralph mentions that, guys, is because you need that demeanor because you're going up against people who are trying to attack you and
Right,
it be a threat. So you can't have someone all soft and weak, man. You know, you got
right,
to have you know. So weaknesses at times he can overextend. Therefore, by overextending, he's playing off balance, and he
right.
doesn't have quick feet, so he's kind of slow of foot, lacks range, and he had a holding problem. So I don't want him on my squad. Not saying that he's bad, but I don't want people who hold. But he's number 5. Number 4, I have Anton Harrison from the school that's I am a left tackle. Orlando Brown Jr. went to Oklahoma. This dude is 6'6", 315 pounds. Player comparison I've seen was Josh Jones. He, unlike Darnell Wright, has great movement and he's quick footed. He's already someone that you can easily implement into a starting role as a pass protector in the NFL. Good hand placement. Um, Weaknesses, he needs to work on some of his playing strength, and people can chop his hands away, right, with quick moves. So he needs to work on his hands not getting swat away so he can have steady position. You know what I'm saying? Not grabbing, but
Right.
just steady. Work on some of his leverage. But he only allowed only 9 pressures and 1 sack on 447 pass snaps. So Anton Harrison out of Oklahoma, I have at number 4.
And at 3, I got Broderick
Mhm.
Jones coming out of Georgia.
Mhm.
I think that he's a very close comp to another Georgia Andrew Thomas, left tackle.
Oh, yeah.
But he has
Good
great
point.
size, 6'5", 313, great length. He has that pop at contact that I was talking about. Can use better hands and also is a slightly robotic when it comes to his pass protection.
Mhm.
And when it comes to his hands, he's strong and all of those things, but it's just like those. You don't want to be so robotic because that makes it easier for and we've seen the amount of talent coming off these edges.
Yeah.
When you got the Max Crosby's of the world, we got the the Hassan Reddicks of the world, we got the
Ooh.
T.J. Watts of the world, like those Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa, just great with your hands. When you become so robotic and you start to look like it's you can tell it's coming. You can slap it down, club it, swim move, all of that. That's where he can have to start these issues. And I think that this robotic comes from the lack of experience, where he's only started for 1 year going into this season. And it's more so because Georgia's constantly pumping out talent at a lot of these positions that are key positions in the league. Next up, my boy from Northwestern, Peter Skoronski. I think during his I think that he has the versatility because he came in as a guard. Reminds me a lot of Elijah Vera Tucker of Georgia. Has the ability to play inside, outside. The one reason why people may talk about him getting moved inside eventually, he has great size at 6'4", 313, but he has short arms. And a lot of times when it comes to that tackle spot, if you're looking for him to protect, a lot of people got him going to the Bears. If you're looking for him to protect Justin Fields' blind side, you need him to have those long arms, keep those edge rushers at bay. But he has those short arms, but he's very quick and shows good range. But he has that short arms and lacks length. But he's a technician with the hands. Has some of the best hand usage in all of this. So I think that can counteract the short arms. But when you have those short arms, it just makes it where it's kind of hard for you to keep people at bay. And you can go crazy. But we gotta end this topic at 40 minutes, bro.
All right. Yeah. No, I was gonna say we both had the same top three. Broderick Jones out of Georgia, Peter Skoronski out of Northwestern, and then your boy, Ohio State's finest, Paris Johnson. Pretty much the big dude. Like we talked about. Shoot, I feel like we talked about this one months ago. We were talking about his potential, right? I mean, someone so big, someone so massive, right? Just do great. You know what I'm saying? I know, like, I use Orlando Brown Jr. a lot, not just because he was a former Raven, but because he was so big, right? And people are like, yo, dude, what's wrong? Like they were saying he had the worst combine ever, and then look what he turned out to be. So look at someone like Paris Johnson, who actually is explosive and has athleticism and physicality, right? Like if you can just put that in the right, you can put that anywhere, right? Any system. So Paris Johnson is the clear-cut de facto number one offensive tackle in this draft. So,
and I think he's the number one offensive lineman. I know I've said bad things about him prior, but watching this tape on him, his combine interviews,
a lot happens before the draft, man.
I think his size and versatility is what makes him the best, because he played 1 year at tackle, he played 1 year at guard, left guard, right guard. High character, has his foundations for veterans, and we love to see that. With my dad being a veteran and some of my uncles being veterans, cousins being veterans, long athletic guy, but being able to play at 6'6", be a guard, where most of them are 6'2", 6'3".
Yeah,
it's one of those things that you like to see it. And so that wraps up our draft analysis for this position. We will got more coming to you next week for the sake of time. We got to cut some of these other ones short, but we got to talk about this one, the NBA Hall of Fame, because I have some hot takes that may or may not be hot takes.
Okay,
but we got Tony Parker being one of the inductees. We got Dirk Nowitzki, Paul Gasol, Becky Hammond, and Coach Pop, all being inductees. First off, I got to get it off my chest. Do you believe that all of these people deserve to be a Hall of Fame inductees?
I'm actually pulling up that class, but the names that you actually named, I personally didn't have a problem with. You didn't mention your boy though. You didn't mention your Chicago boy. What's up, man? You didn't mention D Wade.
I'll mention him. He was the third person I mentioned.
Okay. Oh, I see what you did. Third person. See. Number 3. Let me see. Let me see real quick. I'm not going to read them all out. But you said Parker, Gasol, Wade, Dirk, Becky Hammond.
Yes.
I don't really have a problem with that because I think that Tony Parker is the most underrated point guard probably of his era. Right? Daniel Gibson. Shout out to him. He talked about how he cooked them in the NBA Finals. Like, and Tony Parker, like he was one of the best. I mean, we talk about Ja Morant. He finishes above the rim, right? Tony Parker finished under the rim probably at the same rate. Like once he got underneath the basket, you were done. That joint was going up. Like we remember when he came in as a well, we remember when he didn't have a jump shot. Then he got a jump shot. Pau
Right.
Gasol, what's his face? Pau Gasol and Kobe. That changed Kobe's legacy. Not saying he didn't have a good legacy, but that changed. They both complement each other. Dirk ended this, well, not ended the super team era, but he prevented LeBron from getting that first ring. Popovich, top 3 coach of all time. And see, Becky Hammond, with all due respect, I need to do a deeper dive. I know that she played in San Antonio as well as coach in San Antonio, if I'm not mistaken. Was assistant coach. So I don't want to speak any information that's false. But I think the key names, the big names for me, are deserving. But if you think differently or anything, I'm curious to hear your perspective on it.
This is
Yeah.
my perspective on it. And I think
Mhm.
that when it comes to the fact that they're international players and
They're all
that
like international,
impact,
right? Yeah,
I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that that's where the case for them can't really be argued.
Okay.
But when we start talking about the Hall, then at some point we got to have this conversation. Dion brought it
Yes.
up as far as
Right.
the Hall of it being the Hall of Fame, or is it the Hall of Very Good?
Very good. Okay.
And so, Pau Gasol,
Mm-hmm.
I think that when it comes to the story of basketball and the transitions from it being a
Mm.
U.S. sport to it being international, you
Mm-hmm.
got to have that conversation about him
Okay.
and bring him into the conversation.
Yes.
Now, and when we start to talk about his skill set, you got to have that conversation
Mm-hmm.
because he was post game crazy, face up game crazy,
Mm-hmm.
ability to shoot over the top, mid range. Eventually got his could hit the 3-point shot.
Right.
Be the ability to be a playmaker,
Good point.
while also he averaged a little less than 2 blocks a game, so he was a rim protector too. But
Mm-hmm.
when you look at his when you take a step back and you just look at his numbers, and this is where I think that with Hall of Fame for me, I think your numbers gotta match your tape. And this
Okay.
is where I believe Paul Gasol and Tony Parker, based on numbers matching tape, are
Mm-hmm.
not Hall of Famers.
Mm.
Because it wasn't like Tony Parker. All right, so if we're gonna say, well, Tony Parker played well with Tim Duncan, when you have someone like a Tim Duncan and you play maybe what was it, 1 or 2 seasons where he didn't play with Tim Duncan?
Yeah. He played in Charlotte, but he tore his Achilles too
Right.
before that, though.
And
So it's kind
so
of like,
he averaged less than 6 assists a game for his career
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and less than 16 points a game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that when we start to talk about Dwayne Wade, when you think of Dwayne Wade, one of the
Yeah.
best
Yeah.
shot blockers at his position, scoring title,
Mm-hmm.
one of the greatest players of his era.
Right.
Dirk Nowitzki, a shot that so many different players tried to mimic after that
Yeah.
and add that to their game. And that stretch run of him winning that title when he ran through the Lakers, who were a 60-win team, and eventually beat the Heat
Mm.
on and won a title. Can't take that away from him. Then you got Becky Hammond, just won a title as a coach,
We got to add that in there. Yes. Yes.
a phenomenal player, and I believe she got a ring as a player. And the barriers that she broke being a female coach. She's the one of the faces of when it comes to being a female coach in the male sport. On the male side, we think of Becky Hammond
Mm-hmm.
as that coach. So I think
Yeah.
that barrier there, those 3 things gives you why she has a Hall of Fame career.
Mm-hmm.
While also in her era, she was one of the best from her time.
That's fact. That is fact. Mm-hmm.
And so then we got Coach Pop, arguably the best. You have there's a conversation that has to be had as far as
He's in
him
that
being
conversation.
the
Yeah.
best NBA coach
Right.
of all time.
Him, Red Auerbach, Phil Jackson, all those guys.
Exactly. And so
Okay.
I think that when we start to have those conversations, if everybody that I brought up, they're the best at something or near the best at something.
Mm-hmm.
Where I just think that Paul Gasol and Tony Parker were great players,
Mm-hmm.
but their resumes don't add up. Paul Gasol, 6-time All Star, 2-time champ, 4-time All NBA, and then immediately after that we go to his rookie. He was one of the better rookies that year in '02. Tony Parker,
Mm-hmm.
4-time champ, 6-time All Star, 4-time All NBA, all
Finals MVP.
Finals MVP, and the
Uh-huh.
same. He was on that same All Rookie team with Paul Gasol.
Mm.
So at that point, when you start to compare them next to the people that they're on that list with,
Mm-hmm.
Dirk Nowitzki and Dwayne Wade double them in All Star appearances.
Mm-hmm.
They both double and triple them. Uh, Dirk Nowitzki triples them in all NBA appearances. Dwayne Wade doubles them in all NBA appearances. They're both Finals MVPs. So I'll give Tony Parker that one. But with the rest of your resume and the rest of your tape, is just for me. I'm not really that impressed. But I got to see Tony Parker, so he's someone that you have to have that conversation with when you talk
Mm-hmm.
about the game and the international sport. But it goes beyond that when you start to talk about being a Hall of Famer. Because I think in no other sport do we start talking about what you did off what your game meant for off the field or off this
Oh yeah.
until we start talking about like the greats. Because then it's like, all right, so Dion was this guy, but then we all wanted to look like this and wear this and talk like this because it's Dion.
It's
But
Dion. He's an
but we can
iconic
talk
figure.
about 10
Yeah.
different things before we get to that as far as his play on the field and on the court. And that's where I think Paul Gasol, although he played for the Bulls, and I'm still a huge fan of him. I argue for him, but I do
Yeah.
think if it was a Hall of Very Good, yes. But it's a Hall of Fame, I just disagree.
No, I think everything you said. That's the beautiful thing about this conversation. And I won't harp on it because I think we got one more topic to get to. But
Yeah,
I'll say this, man. Like, and you know me because I'm Kobe Laker. You know when that was my time, man. You know me. And then he went to the Bulls, and you actually caught me on the 3-point shot because I didn't think about that. I'm like, man, he about to add to my case.
right.
But everything you said is exactly why I feel like Pau Gasol is underrated because I can tell you this, Ralph. Laker fans started treating Pau Gasol, and I'm actually a victim of this. Like they're like, oh, we got to get rid of Pau, got to get rid of Pau. I remember even saying that they need to get rid of Pau after he didn't show up in the series that got swept by the Mavs, right? And Phil Jackson lost his cool and punched him in the chest, right? But I also remember his basketball IQ. It can't be shown on the stat sheet. His IQ can't be shown on the stat sheet. The triangle is only for high IQ players. No disrespect, Carmelo Anthony, but it's only for high IQ players. It is hard. Kobe talks about it. Pau Gasol was a perfect fit. Everyone said, "Hey, let's bring in KG." Pau Gasol was a perfect fit for the triangle. The Redeem Team. We saw the Redeem Team documentary, and shout out to Tar. He always says this: USA was about to get smoked, man. Like Pau Gasol always gave Team USA smoke on Team Spain. Like Gasol was like that. He was better than his brother, whose offensive game didn't come on until later, right? So
Right.
like I look at that Tony Parker. I think about what the peers say, and I'll end it with this. I'll end it with this though. This just I'll put it out there. Pat Riley said to me, the great Pat Riley, who is in the Hall of Fame, if I'm not mistaken. To me, it's a no-brainer that all these guys are first ballot guys. Pat Riley said, look at the records, look at the longevity they've had in this league, look at what they've done for the league and how much the league calls them back because they're ambassadors of this great league and they have a great voice and great message. Dwayne being a first ballot was a no-brainer, of course. He always goes up for Dwayne Wade, you know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
Dwayne Wade might have got robbed for that '09 MVP. But I'll end it with this, man. Um I'm gonna say one thing you didn't mention though, and I get where you're saying. Hall of Very Good. Was Pau Gasol ever Dirk? No, but because he indirectly affected the legacy and the championship win or directly of Kobe Bryant, just as Tony Parker because affected Tim Duncan because Tim Duncan did not play well versus the Cavs in '07. I'm sorry, people, he didn't. There's a reason why Tony Parker averaged 25 and was cooking, right? Because he affected those guys, I give that a little more credence. And I do care about the peers because me and you, we both talk about certain individuals and certain greats. that get disrespected by the media and the analysts and the number crunchers that never played. But if you talk to the peers who had to guard them, they'll tell you different. So I'm not saying that your opinion at all is invalid. Nope. I think every single thing that you said is valid. And I would say if there's any, like, I guess, opposing viewpoint on it, or maybe pushback or vice versa, I would say I would go towards how they affected those guys' legacies, and then what did I say, Ralph? I said, and then what their peers say about them.
Right.
That's it. But I get what you're talking about, the great, like the greatest of that position,
Right.
versus like oh, you're almost there but not quite.
Right.
Okay.
And so next up, we got NBA power rankings.
I'll let you set it off, man.
So first up, I got. I'm gonna give the Lakers a little bit more credit. I was gonna have them at 10, but I'm gonna go Knicks. Knicks at 10.
Okay.
Jalen Brunson playing very well.
Yeah.
Julius Randle coming along right along with him. I think that team is playing well. Got New York booming, ready for the playoffs. We got a week left in the season, so I think that the Knicks at 10 is a good spot for them. And I got the Lakers at 9.
Okay.
Because I have them so low, so they can only get so high. I'm not going to throw them and go crazy because they won a couple games. I still need to see it because they are in a certain spot. But I can see Anthony Davis has been dominant. LeBron is back. Austin Reeves was holding it down while they were gone. And I think that D'Lo gives them an added dimension coming off of that screen, being able to shoot coming off the screen, while also being able to come downhill with a great Euro step, left hand, right hand.
Man, you made that sound beautiful.
And so I got the Knicks at 10, Lakers at 9.
Okay, and for every reason why what you said is exactly why I have them at 10, and that's not hate. I actually moved them up probably like 20 spots. I'm literally they're a top 10 team. If you're a top 10 team in my power rankings at the end of the season, that's incredible, because I think if let's cut to the chase, man, they're the dark horse in the West. If they can secure the spot, they're the dark horse in the West, because they'll probably have the 2 best players in any series. So I got them at 10. I ain't gonna go into all the stats and stuff like that. Number 9 was the hardest to put, right? Because in terms of ranking, their seeding tells me something. Their offensive numbers and all that kind of stuff tells me something. When I watch them, it tells me something. But they're also, I repeat, they have to be the worst defensive team in the Western Conference out of the teams that are in the playoffs, and that is the Sacramento Kings, man. They can't stop a nosebleed, Mike Bullethead Brown. Come on, man. Right. But your offense is humming.
Right.
But I got them at 9. So I got you right ahead above the Lakers, your historical rivals. So I got them. All right.
And then next up, I got the Grizzlies at 8.
I like that.
Because they got Ja back playing very strong. Dylan Brooks playing very well. Jared Jackson playing very well. Yeah. So I got them at 8. After they got a shellacking by the Bulls, it's just kind of hard for either the Bulls are better than what we thought they were, or the Grizzlies just had a bad night. Right. The next up, for every reason that you brought, but I'm going to pay a little bit more attention to the offensive side of the ball, which isn't much like me. But the Kings at 7.
Okay.
For me, their ability to the fourth quarter scoring, coming through in the clutch, Sabonis, Monk, De'Aaron Fox. I think De'Aaron Fox is playing his way into an All-NBA slot this season. I think he's very much deserving. So I got the Kings at 7, Grizzlies at 8.
Okay, and I like that. I'm not gonna lie. I have a little bias in terms of I'm thinking playoff team too, like what they would do in the playoffs, which I know I'm probably not supposed to. But it's the end of the year power ranking, so man, I'm like, why not?
Right.
I got the Knicks at 8, so I do have them somewhere around where you had them, because I think you had them at 10. I got them at 8. And I have the Memphis Grizzlies at 7. I'll end the Grizzlies portion with this, Ralph. I think I have a feeling, and you might feel this way too. A lot of people are still thinking about the off the field, and it's caused them to have blinders to what the Grizzlies have been doing. I'm not saying they're going to win the chip, but I think that they've been playing well since Ja's gotten back. So I got them at 7.
And so I got the Cavs at 6.
Okay.
The only reason, like the Cavs have been playing well. Donovan Mitchell is leading the way. I'm very curious to see what happens in the playoffs. But I just think that the talent and the experience of the other teams that are in front of them is why I got them put at the spot that they're at. So I got the
Okay.
Cavs at 6. I got the 76ers at 5. I don't like Joel Embiid sitting out that Nuggets game. Losing to the Bucks after that, I think that they have
Yeah.
moved down a few pegs, a few spots where I normally would have had them in that three spot, but I got them moving down. Cavs at right about where I had them at last time, 6. 76ers at 5.
Okay. And I have the Phoenix Suns, man, the return of KD. They actually need KD a lot, unfortunately. That's the only qualm I do have with them. Not saying that they're a bad team. Devin Booker's great. And DeAndre Ayton can be kind of up and down, but they have looked better defensively. I think they're gonna hit their stride. So they're gonna be a team that I think is gonna be ready to play. I just have some injury concerns, obviously, because KD's been out. CP3, we know about him. Terrence Ross, I think teams are going to actually attack him defensively in the playoffs. But I think they're just outside the top 5. But in the playoffs, I think that's when the gear turns. So if you have a great superstar and guys that elevate their game, Ralph, right, in the playoffs, we're going to see the best of the Phoenix Suns. And then I got the Cleveland Cavaliers for everything that you mentioned at 5. When people ask me who's the best two guard in the league, why not Donovan Mitchell? So I
Right.
got the Cavs at 5.
And so at 4, I got the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
I just think that adding KD and that win against the Timberwolves was such a. It just showed me what that team can be, even with KD being not having a good shooting night. They locked in on defense. Devin Booker made good shots. KD still was able to hit some big shots. DeAndre Ayton controlled the paint, even with a Rudy Gobert. And I know that we talk bad about him, but he still was on the court.
Never.
So I got the Suns at 4, but it's not a
Yeah.
big enough sample size for me to put them ahead of the Denver Nuggets, the Celtics, or the Bucks, which are the 3 teams I have in front. I got the Denver Nuggets at 3.
Mm-hmm.
They moved down, having some defensive woes, but they still have Jamal Murray coming in and helping them get a victory against a good Warriors team. Some of the other players are coming into their own, and it's right at the right time. So I got the Nuggets at 3.
Okay. Did you say the 76ers at all?
I
Yeah.
set them at 5.
Oh, okay. I didn't I must have missed that. Okay. And then I got the 76ers at 4. Man, Joel Embiid, come on, man. You in the news quoting all this stuff, man. It's playoff time. Get your mind right, man.
Right.
Like Jay-Z said on the Dynasty album. But anyway, and then and then number 3, I got the Denver Nuggets. Moving on, man.
And then I got the Celtics at 2. They're
Oh,
looking
wow. Okay.
they're just looking a little shaky for me, bro. I think that the way that the
Yeah.
Bucks have been playing
Yeah.
over the last couple weeks,
Yeah.
Giannis is coming back into form. Chris Middleton looked like Chris Middleton,
Mm-hmm.
and then Drew Holiday. I do think it's kind of funny. One quick thing: Drew Holiday had some stuff to say about how we're overlooking Giannis, but I think
Yeah.
he's overlooking his play, which is why we're overlooking Giannis.
Facts.
But I
Facts.
got the Celtics at 2 and the Bucks at 1.
Man, that's like an entendre right there, man. I even know that was cold what you just said, man. All right, hey, I flip flop with this a lot, but not really. I have the sauce, but Celtics at
Yeah,
2, man. I know they shellac the Bucks, but the Bucks have been winning games with people injured, and they actually have a substantially better record with Chris Middleton out this year than they did last year. So they've been able
right.
to win with and without him. And then I got I got the Bucks at 1. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah. All right. Cool. And I think it's gonna the next week we're gonna start talking about playoffs and who we think can win certain spots. I think it's
Yeah,
gonna be really interesting.
it's gonna be
I
fun,
think
man.
the
It's gonna be
MVP
fun.
race is gonna be another one that's gonna be kind of that very intriguing.
Mhm.
But I think that the next couple shows, is going to be a little difficult because we still got to start breaking down the different positions as far as the NFL draft. But make sure you go
Yep.
and you follow all our socials. Go on Facebook, type in the He Say She Say all one word channel. YouTube J.U.K. Media. Instagram J.U.K. Sports Show. All my socials is KYNGRALPH. add an underscore for Twitter. You need that unbiased, no narrative driven breakdown NBA analysis. Go on Instagram at the.houseofhoops. Thank you all for watching. Peace.
Peace.
Love and chicken grease.